Hello and welcome to week 17. This week concludes part 2 of this course, and this week concludes all of the basics of Python and MySQL. And then next week we move into part 3 where we start developing a working software. In this lesson, we want to look at Pythons in a functional way, in such a way that we can understand what decorators are. So the purpose of this lesson is to look into detail of functions, but this time with more details that helps us understand the concept of decorators in Python. So first of all, what are decorators? We use decorators to provide easy way for calling higher order functions. Now, what are higher order functions? Higher order functions either takes one or more function as an argument, or it returns a function as a result. So when we use decorator functions, they take another function and extend the behavior of the later function without modifying it. So for what we know about function is that it is something that turns a given argument into a value. And if we want to look at that in a functional way, recall that we say Python can be used or can be treated as a functional programming language, in which case we work with functions without the side effect of outputting something to the console. So Python supports functions as first-class objects, which means that it can be passed around and used as argument. Let's look at functions that can be passed to a function. Let's say, for instance, we define a function, def greet. We want this greet function to take a name parameter, and when this function is called with a name argument, we want it to output, let's say, print hello name. We want to create another function, let's say def greet, let's say greet Mildred, for instance, and we want this to take a function has its parameter, and we want the function to be, well, let's just write func here, so we know it takes a function. What we want this to do when it is called is to return func Mildred. What we've done here is to create a function that takes a parameter name. If we call the function greet and we supply the name Mildred or any name at all, it is going to print hello Mildred. So let's try to do it. Let's say greet, and let's say we want to greet somebody else. We are greeting, let's say, Alice. And then when I save this and I run, this is going to print. So we want to say greet Alice, but this is a return statement. Let's change it to a print statement so that we can print out something to the page. So let's say we want it to print hello and then the name of the person. And let's change this to a print statement. So in software development, we're not going to use print actually. We'll be using return statements, but because we are testing, let's just use print here. So when I say greet Alice, I save and I run, it should print hello Alice there. But when I decide that I want to call greet Mildred, this time greet Mildred takes an argument that is a function, and the function I pass into it is greet. So when I pass in this function greet into this, I'm passing it in without the parentheses, which means that only a reference to the object is passed. I don't need the parentheses, I don't need the argument, because this has said that take a function, has the parameter, and then print out function, and in the parentheses Mildred. So this is automatically going to print hello Mildred and replace the name here with Mildred. When I save this, I clear and I run, I'm going to have hello Mildred printed out there. This is an example of how we have a function that uses another function as its argument. We can also have inner functions, like a function within a function. Let's say, for instance, I want to say def school. Let the school be the parent function. And what I want this school to do is to say return hello world. Let's just do something hypothetical. And within that school function, I want to create another function, def teacher. And I'll put return. Let's use print instead of return here. And here we're also going to print hello teacher. And then let's put def student and print hello student. So we're just having a hypothetical scenario where we are having functions within a function, and then when we're done, we want to call teacher with a parenthesis, so we'll call teacher here and then students here, and then that's the end of this. When we call school, what is going to happen now is that this parent function school is going to execute all of its local functions within. We cannot access the local functions within the school parent function because they are local to the scope of the school function, and only when the school function is called can this be called. And so when I say school and I save and I run, is going to print out everything for the teacher and the student. So we'll get hello world, hello teacher, hello students printed out like that. Let's do something that makes sense. Let's say we want to return function from functions. Let's say we have the dev school, and let's say for instance we want to have something that, let's say def name like this, and what we want this one to do is to say print the name of the school. Then we want to have another function, let's say def location, and let's put that. Let's look at def, and let's say this is category. I'll make it private, and let's say def type. Okay, let's stop here. So we have created a parent function called school that have other functions in them: name, location, category, type. We want to try to return a function, right? How do we do this? Let's say for instance we have an if statement here to say that if this school function takes something like, let's say it takes a detail, let's just call it details, and then we'll now say here if details is equal to name, we want it to return the name function, and then we'll go again, if the details is equal to location, return the location function. If the details is equal to category, return category. Okay? And if the details is equal to type, return the type function, else we want to return invalid input, something like this. So what we are doing here now is we have a function that returns a function. So you need to understand this for you to be able to appreciate the power of decorators, and that's why we are looking at functions in a different way or in a more complex way. So in the event that I now call this school function is a string, so we'll pass that function as a string as an argument to the parent definition, which is details, and we're passing the function location here. We are not passing it with the parentheses. When I do this and I run, we should have the location printed, which is New York, because we've asked that if the detail is equal to location, we want the location function to be called, which is print New York. So this is how we have a function that returns function. Now we have enough knowledge to understand what Python decorators are, and in the next lesson we're going to look at decorators in Python. Thank you, and see you in the next lesson.